and welcome to Michigan Matters. Detroit's riverfront has been reinvented in recent years with the brand new park, the Ralph Wilson Centennial Park, recently opening. We have three leaders involved here to talk about it and what's ahead for the riverfront. Then Eric Poe of Cure Auto Insurance is here to talk about some bills in Lansing and their potential impact on Detroiters. It's a show celebrating Detroit's new riverfront and keeping an eye on auto insurance rates. Let's get started.
From CBS Detroit, this is Michigan Matters with Carol Kane. Michigan Matters is brought to you in part by Henry Ford Health.
And we're pleased to welcome Ryan Sullivan, CEO of the Detroit Riverfront Conservancy, Matt Cullen, who's the chair of Jack Entertainment and also outgoing founding chair of the Conservancy, and David Egner, who is the president CEO of the Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Foundation. Great to have you guys with us this morning.
Great to be here.
Well, congratulations. The new park opened up this past week, and let me start off with you. As the CEO of the Conservancy, your reaction to it?
Yeah, absolutely incredible. You know, we had a beautiful Michigan fall weekend to celebrate and welcome our entire community to the Ralph Wilson Park, 22 acres, absolutely spectacular along Detroit's, internationally acclaimed waterfront, and couldn't have asked for a better time this weekend.
And Matt, as the co-founder of the Conservancy, I think it was 22 years ago?
It was, yeah.
20, oh my God, it seems like only yesterday here.
Exactly.
And the work on the park began in 2017. You've been watching this, had a front row seat, your thoughts about it, and the impact of it.
You know, it really is a culmination of what we started the Conservancy is 22 years old, but we were thinking about it for a couple of years before that, so 25 years that we've been working on it, and it's incredible what our community has achieved. I mean, ultimately 5.5 miles of perpetual public access with linked parks and greenways. But the Wilson Park is really going to be the capstone of that, and it's just an incredible 22-acre park that has something for everybody, from the smallest of kids with the play gardens and the splash pad to the young adults playing basketball to the grandparents bringing their grandkids out. So it's so exciting for us. And it's the connectivity, too, because it's going to, with the Southwest Greenway, it goes right into Southwest Detroit, and along the riverfront, it's going to go all the way to downtown, and with the Joe Louis Greenway, it's going to go all through the city. So big day for us.
Lots of stuff going on
Absolutely.
Here. David, you're president and CEO of the Ralph C. Wilson Foundation. The late Ralph Wilson was from Detroit, ultra successful in business, ended up buying the NFL Buffalo Bills, made sure part of his estate, and also sailed the team. Went into this foundation to help Southeast Michigan and also Buffalo, New York. You're in charge of all that. Your foundation gave, I believe it was $40 million to this park. And why is it important to invest in things like parks?
Well, we're up to $56 million because they inflated the price. They made this. There are so many special things, and as cost went up, et cetera, we wanted to make sure this was a world-class park, and it is indeed. It's an amazing, what'll be international destination.
So what other things, just real quickly, that does the foundation do in Detroit?
We've got an effort to work in economic development and entrepreneurship. We've got work that's in the workforce space, trying to help people find their way to middle-skill, middle-wage jobs, and caregivers. How do you help people who are caring for aging adults? And
Matt, when you were involved with the Conservancy, when this all started and you were part of it, there was a lot of talk about Detroit's riverfront and what a wasted opportunity, things like taking down the cement silos, this sort of thing. How do you think Detroit's riverfront compares now to, say, Chicago, other places?
I mean, I think it's at the top of the list. I mean, it was voted the #1 riverfront in the United States 3 years in a row until we stepped out of the competition for a couple of years to let somebody else win. And now bringing the Wilson Park on top of that is incredible. So, we don't need to compete with others anymore because we know we have one of the best in the world. And when you look where we started, we probably had the worst, and now the worst to best over the course of 20 years. Overnight success after 20 years.
Right.
But I think it's very rewarding, and it's something everybody in Detroit can be proud of.
You have to wonder whose bright idea was it to put cement silos along the riverfront?
Well, you know what? Historically, though, it was the right thing. I mean, it was an industrial riverfront, and then it then became post-industrial, and there was a bunch of beat-up old buildings, but here we are now.
And Ryan, how long have you run the foundation now?
I've been at the Conservancy about 18 months.
Okay, so 18 months. How do you describe the evolution of what's taking place?
It's tremendous. I mean, just building on what Matt was saying, I live in the city of Detroit on the east side and have been a riverfront user for many years before coming into this role professionally. And I can't understate, how important this is to the community. And it's our entire community, our entire region, not just people that live close to the riverfront like me and my family. But I spend a lot of time on the riverfront and meet people from the suburbs as well as internationally. We had the marathon recently in town. The day after the marathon, there were numerous people enjoying the Riverwalk, wearing their medals. I was able to stop and chat with them, meet people from Los Angeles, from Chicago. So it is a world-class, international destination, as Dave was saying a moment ago, and we're living and seeing that every single day.
And certainly the Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Centennial Park is something to celebrate. So congrats to you on all of that. But we're going to continue the conversation, but take a quick break. We'll be back with more Michigan Matters after this. And we're back and talking with Ryan Sullivan, Matt Cullen, and David Egner. And we're talking about the new Ralph C. Wilson Centennial Park, which, David, I have to ask you, it's amazing what is all down there. And I'm going to imagine it took a lot of people, a lot of places and things to put everything together to bring it together. So just real quickly, tell us what that process entailed.
Well, this journey started in 2017. Our first investment with the riverfront was an engagement process. So 20 plus people got on airplanes and went to look at the greatest parks in the United States. And from there started the dream big about this park. So Michael Van Valkenburg and Associates, probably the foremost landscape architect, has designed this park, but with the input of thousands of people. And it's just amazing. It is indeed the people's park.
It's going to be a signature thing, I predict, particularly that giant bear slide, which I want to see again.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure I'll get on it.
Bear.
Oh, is that what it is? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Ryan, I have to ask you, you came on board the Conservancy at a tenuous time. We know there's tons of headlines about the CFO at the time. William Smith was sentenced to 19 years in prison, embezzling over $40 million. You took over the organization after this, where you came in, took it over. What's been the collateral damage to the Conservancy from all of this?
Well, I think that this has been a story of resilience and perseverance. We've been talking about how important the riverfront is to our entire community, our entire region, and I think that has really shown through over the last 18 months, and we're here today talking about the opening of this park, which something, if you were to ask a lot of people 18 months ago, was at risk at a moment in time, but it was through great partners such as the Wilson Foundation, the Community Foundation, and really our entire community recognizing and stepping up for the importance of this organization that we're here today.
Last time you and I talked about this, you said you were going to be some adjustments made, and we don't have time to do a whole blueprint about what all the changes were. Just can you mention one thing in particular that changed as a result of having someone who over a series of years was bilking countless millions?
Sure. I mean, we've put in place a number of different reforms, everything from a full governance review and reform all the way to improving our operations, every step of the way. We have an entirely new leadership team, myself included, and everything in between. So there's been a significant effort to really shore up the foundation of the organization and put us on solid footing for the future.
And Matt, real quickly on the board. You're on the board. You've been founding member of it. There's lots of folks on that board. Did you make any significant change to the board as a result of this in terms of a governance structure?
We have, and we're putting a lot of those things in place. We really did a best practices around the country as to how to make sure that we were, the kind of mantra is find it, fix it, make sure it never happens again. Bringing in somebody of the caliber of Ryan and the work that he's done has been a big part of that. And as Ryan said, the ongoing support of the Wilson Foundation has been a big deal. Over the years, we've had to withstand General Motors bankruptcy, the city of Detroit's bankruptcy, political turmoil. We've had a lot of challenges. Certainly this is a big one, but people hanging together, we've gotten it done.
David, was there a time that the foundation ever had any reservations about continuing with the project when this came to light of what had been transpiring with this one individual?
There wasn't a moment, no. I'm so blessed to work for an organization where the board didn't hesitate. They were right on it, immediately getting involved in making sure this park was done. And if you didn't watch the news, there wasn't a change on the riverfront. This staff held together through this tragedy, and every event was pulled off. Every part of the park was open. it was amazing. It was a resilient staff, and it showed the resiliency of the city.
Yeah. Matt, I want to ask you quickly, you were working for GM at one moment. You were an executive there when GM bought that building for its global headquarters. And now GM is moving its headquarters over to the Hudson building. They're working in concert with Bedrock to create something there. And we had Jared Flesher on the show a couple of weeks ago. He's talking about reaching out to Lansing, convincing them to resources coming that way. What would you like to see happen with the Renson?
Well, it's been funny for me, or kind of ironic, because I ran General Motors real estate for a long time, and then I ran Bedrock for a long time working with Dan. And so the opportunity to sort of help both sides put General Motors into Hudson's, which is a great outcome, was really rewarding. And now working with Jared and Dave Masseron and the two teams, GM and Bedrock, to look at the Renaissance Center. So anyway, long answer to your question. The vision that Jared and the Bedrock team have put forward, I think, is really compelling, and I think we're going to be able to pull it off. We do need help from Lansing, but it's one of those circumstances where we're just asking them to give up money that otherwise wouldn't come because it's a tax increment kind of structure.
It's just tough in this environment to talk about monies for
well, that's why
coming out of Lansing.
No, that's why we're not asking for money commitment. We're asking for a share of the taxes that will be generated by this massive new investment, $1.6 billion of investment.
Wow.
So anyway, and it ties to the riverfront because it would open up that entire space and be really incredible. Dan Gilbert has committed to a Navy Pier kind of.
And wouldn't that be marvelous
to
have that in Detroit?
Right? I mean, so that'd be very, very cool.
Yeah, and there's much more to say about it, but unfortunately, we're out of time here. I want to thank you guys so much for being here. Look forward to the park and what transpires there and the riverfront as it evolves and what happens with the Renaissance Center. Many stories. We'll see how it works out here, but thank you for being here.
Thank you, Carol.
All righty. And keep it right here. We're back with more Michigan Matters after this. Welcome back to Michigan Matters. We're now joined by Eric Poe, who's CEO of Kier Auto Insurance, who's here to talk about some bills in Lansing that are going to be impacting, potentially, consumers. We're going to talk about that. So great to have you back with us.
Thanks for having me, Carol.
How you been?
Good, good.
Well, I know when you're around, we're going to be talking about auto insurance rates. And one question that keeps coming up, and it's like we ask it, things get changed, but doesn't seem to get better, is Detroit remains one of the most expensive cities in the country to insure cars, with the average premium being around $5,600, which I think is about double the national average. The question remains, why?
Well, it's probably triple the national average. The reason why is there's a tremendous amount of fraud. And there's really no teeth in the law to allow for insurance carriers to go after the people that commit fraud. So in the state of Michigan, we have an insured fraud act that only is reserved for the Attorney General to prosecute. But insurance companies are not having any of the benefits of the teeth of that law. So there's a lot of fraud that's going on. Michigan itself pays $2.4 billion a year in no fault, which is the same amount as New York. And New York has twice the population.
Wow. Well, and you also have been an advocate for helping to improve rates and going up around with legislators in Lansing, other states as well, because you're also in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. So let's talk about what's going on up in Lansing. And I know, for example, you were here last time. We were talking about towing and potential bills and what was taking place there in terms of fraud. Is there any update on that?
Yeah, so Detroit, our studies show the average tow in Detroit costs $3,500. So when you get in a car accident in Detroit, you have an option. The police officer can call a tow for you, and it's $200. Or if you get a private tow, somebody shows up and says, Carol, if you have car insurance, your tow is free. It's really not free. What happens is that tow yard kidnaps your car and tells your insurance carrier you got to pay an average of $3,500. So there is a bipartisan bill that was introduced by Steckloff and Harris, and it's going to make Michigan one of the strongest consumer protection states in the country for predatory tows.
Are you optimistic that that bill will make its way through?
I am optimistic only because there are so many nightmare stories from even legislators in the state of Michigan that personally have had their cars towed and face bills of $10,000.
Wow. And another bill that kind of got some attention too was Senate Bill 329, which ends penalties and higher premiums for drivers who let their bills escape here. Anything new with that?
It's funny, it's a misnomer. I don't feel like that bill is going to go anywhere. It's one of those things where we're talking about the fact that people who don't pay their bills are paying a penalty for not paying their bills. But the reality is most of those people are not actually going to see any benefit from that bill.
Is there another bill? I know you were mentioning, I get my numbers all mixed up here, which bill is which, but there's another bill where talking about what providers can charge, medical providers can charge under no-fault insurance and having negative impact too.
Oh, tremendous negative impact. So I said earlier that Michigan car insurers pay $2.4 billion a year, which is why you have all those billboards by plaintiff attorneys all over TV commercials, because the system's broken. There's a lot of fraud. When you pay $2.4 billion and you have a bill to say that the amount that you should pay these providers should increase, it just translates to, what do? We just take those bills and we pass it on to people that buy insurance.
If you could wave a magic wand and change it so that this wouldn't happen, what would that one thing be?
It would be to go to arbitration. So when there's a dispute for medical benefits, simply go to arbitration like New York, New Jersey, not pay for attorneys. Right now, 87% of Wayne County has their courts on no-fault cases. So if you ended up having somebody do a garage addition to your house and you didn't get the addition done in time, and you wanted to sue them, you would have to wait 7 or 8 weeks just to hear your case, simply because right out of the gate, because there's so many no-fault cases in Wayne County. It's a terrible, terrible situation with how many lawsuits there are in the state of Michigan on just no fault.
Do you think most people understand no fault and auto insurance? I mean, when these different bills and things that they're doing, do you think it's kind of like going to the dentist? Things just get done, nobody wants to know specifically kind of thing?
Yeah, your previous guest actually brought it up, and he said, well, I thought the new law had all these new options. Why can't I save a lot of money? I said, well, when your agent or broker actually gets paid a commission, if you choose an option and it lowers your rate 40%, just know that your agent is going to lose 40% of his income. So the options aren't being used. 82% of all Michiganders still choose unlimited no fault, despite the fact that there are all these other options can allow your health insurance become the carrier that pays for you when you're involved in a car accident in your treatment. So they're just being underutilized.
How does Michigan compare to other states in terms of this, in terms of the sophistication of consumers understanding this?
Well, at least I think they know that it's a broken system. I don't think they know how to solve it, because very often our problem isn't catastrophically injured people. That tends to be the narrative that's given. It's really the chiropractor bills, the pain management bills, the wage loss bills that people claim for 3 years. In Michigan, we have the highest wage loss claim coverage, meaning that if you get in a car accident and you're working at Starbucks making $35,000 a year, you literally can file for a wage loss claim for 3 years, totaling $100,000 on that claim from your car insurer. No state has that type of coverage. So when you're buying and forcing people to buy this coverage, that rate is going to go up simply because the coverage is so big.
Wow, so much more here. All right, we're going to take a quick break here. We'll be back with more Michigan Matters right after this. Welcome back to Michigan Matters. We're continuing the conversation with Eric Poe of Cure Auto Insurance. Cure has actually been on the market here since 2021?
Yes,
okay.
2021.
And I think I read you have 234,000 drivers in Michigan with 6,700 in Michigan. Those numbers still accurate?
Well, we insured that many over the last 4 years. But now we have about 100,000 currently.
Currently. And how many specifically in the Detroit area?
I'd say about 65,000.
Okay. And I know that you deal with other states here. I'm just curious, with all this talk about reform, given that the average consumer, I just don't think the average person is paying too close attention to this. How easy is it to get the attention of legislators who are the ones controlling these laws?
Very, very hard, because like you said, it's complex. But the easiest way to say it is this. There's only 13 states that have no fault in the whole country, right? And what it does is it simply says your car insurer becomes your health insurer if you ever get medical treatment involved in an injury from a car accident. That's the only thing that you should understand. But the problem is car insurers can't negotiate what treatment will be like your health insurer. So we don't have the ability to direct where somebody's going to go seek treatment. And so what happened is if there's not really good laws, they end up abusing it. So there are providers that abuse it. There are law firms that tell when you get injured to go to certain chiropractors that only do treatment for people. And so there's a whole mechanism and scheme that's orchestrated that costs Michiganders 45% of what you pay for car insurance in Michigan right now is to pay for no-fault coverage.
Well, and you also, as I mentioned, you testify. You've been in Washington testifying in other states about this. So this is obviously a national problem.
Yes, this is the worst state in the United States by far. So when you look at what the average cost
The worst state
in the whole United States for no fault, and the worst state for the highest cost for car insurance in the United States of America. And we're not in a hurricane belt. So, if I were a person living in Michigan, I'd ask, why is my car insurance so expensive? We don't live in a hurricane belt. What makes it so high? It's the same answer as to why you see only commercials and billboards in the state that are plaintiff personal injury.
A lot of lawyer commercials on
Yes.
with all of this here. Well, speaking of reaching consumers, you have really set the tone of reaching your consumers via sports celebrities. You have Jared Goff of the Lions and Tarek Skubal of the Tigers, and you've had the Pistons, Cade Cunningham. What is it about sports celebrities that works for you in terms of helping to promote? And you do this nationally, too.
Yeah, I think it's the people that we choose. So Jared Goff, Amon-Ra, Jahmyr Gibbs, these people, Tarek Skubal, Torkelson, the character of those people, I think that when you watch them every day and you watch the season unfold, you see the type of character they are. And I think it's important to make sure you marry that type of person with your brand. So Detroit people are diehard fans.
Yes.
I've become a diehard Lions fan. I have to be honest with you, a diehard Tigers fan.
What about Red Wings and Pistons?
I'm not a hockey fan, although I'm considering being one. And I do love Cade and I love the Pistons.
Yeah, and when it comes to doing business here, how have you found being a new company, 3 years compared to some others who've been here 100 years, in the auto insurance business, how do you find doing business in Michigan?
I think business is great, except for the underbelly of the no-fault system. So it's unbelievable.
But that's why you came here, though,
yes,
right?
Yes, I was unaware that the system was so, I guess, rigged, if you will. I mean, we even have judges in the state of Michigan, which is unusual, that are elected. So when you elect a judge, I think it becomes a little more difficult to understand why the courts aren't ruling certain ways. And then you realize that there's a big uphill battle in Lansing, as well as electing the right judges.
Yeah. So as we sit here, we're winding down 2025. Pretty much the next few weeks are going to be winding down the year. We're now looking into 2026. As you look out over the landscape of what's ahead in this arena coming out of Lansing, what do you see as far as this kind of regulation?
Well, I think we can only take small nibbles at what we can accomplish because we have a Republican House and we have a Democratic Senate. So very hard to get meaningful reform if the people that bet on the no-fault system staying the same are against one side. And so I think it's going to be very difficult to see any changes until the new election. But that election in 26 is going to be very important for the future of commerce in the state of Michigan, in my opinion.
Are you getting involved? Are you getting involved politically? Are you endorsing anyone, for example, in the governor's race?
Well, no, I won't. I'll try to stay out of that type of thing, but I will always try to tell people who's going to be the best for making sure car insurance stays as low as it can be in the state of Michigan.
Well, you actually worked with Mike Duggan when he is Detroit mayor and deciding to come in here. In fact, didn't he convince you to come into
Yeah, so
Detroit?
Mike Duggan is by far the most knowledgeable candidate on no fault. So from my perspective, he understands the fraud and abuse. So it's not an educational process if he became the governor. So I know that he knows what it takes to make Michigan not the highest cost for car insurance in the country. So.
And there's much more to say about that. So let me go back here for sports for a second. Last year, I believe you picked the winning Super Bowl team and the MVP to appear in a commercial. You decided this before that last game was even played, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so what are you predicting for the upcoming Super Bowl?
Well, I don't want to mush. I don't want to mush. The bettors will say mushing, but I really do believe the Lions are going to win the Super Bowl this year, and I do think that either one of the three players, either Goff, Amon-Ra,
you got
or
it. You got it all covered. Okay, so good money after bad. Put it on. If you have to pick one player, who are you thinking is going to be that?
Well, statistics will show you that the quarterback wins the MVP like 85% of the time. So if I had to bet the money, it would be Jared.
Okay, well, we'll see. Well, I sure hope you're right. It'd be nice to see the Lions. They're the city has been waiting for this for God knows how many decades here.
Yes.
Anyways, but you feel upbeat about Michigan as far as doing some changes in 2026.
I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I know there's so much more to say, but we are out of time. But thank you so much for being here. I appreciate that. And we'll have you back again to talk about some of this after the new year, too, to talk about what's developing up in Lansing.
Thank you.
All righty. Appreciate it. Again, thanks you at home for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your day. And we will see you next Sunday for a little bit more Michigan Matters.